I'm in first now.
Congratulations.
Congrats. Yeah.
There's a first time for a first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Michael, here's the thing. The world, when it goes up in flames, which I think will be probably this year sometime, you will nonetheless be a national champion.
Thank you. Thank you.
What a victory. What a season. I know you had a lot to do with it. You want to tell the fans like how you got through this season and what you did to help the team? And
I trusted the plan is what I did.
There you go.
I never doubted my president, Pam Whitten. I never doubted my coach, Curt Cignetti. Yeah.
I just hope that Curt Cignetti doesn't become political, like some Indiana head coaches have been.
Oh, Bob Knight. Well, Bob, dude, he was retired. He was retired, and he was just playing golf with Trump at the end.
He did media and speeches for Trump in 2016, which is fine. I hope Cignetti doesn't.
Okay.
For any side, because he will win. He will whichever side he's on, and I don't like any side, he'll be the deciding factor. Imagine making him your general.
Imagine betting against that guy.
No, I think, and I was joking to you before we started airing here, that Marco Rubio right now, I'm quite sure, is trying to recruit Fernando Mendoza to lead the invasion battalion to storm the beaches of Cuba, to avenge the Bay of Pigs and finally finish the job, because they've needed a leader like that.
Yeah.
Someone who can run into the end zone, sacrificing his body in that way. They need that guy in the what are they called? The landing craft.
A lot of people online are calling Marco Rubio Otto Van Bismarco for his role. His kids grew up playing football with Fernando Mendoza in the same Miami area.
His son, last I checked, was on the roster of the Florida Gators.
Yeah, he's a wide receiver, right? He scored a touchdown the other day.
No, he didn't score no touchdown.
Yeah,
he's like a fifth stringer, isn't he?
I think he scored a touchdown. I might be wrong, but I thought he started, and I thought he scored a touchdown at Florida.
No, I don't even think he plays.
Okay.
I mean, he's on the bench deep because he's like Marco's size, so it's not happening.
Okay.
Anyway, so like I said, World War III is going to suck, but you will have that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. Sorry to fact check live, but he did. Anthony Rubio, Seals win. And this was in 2024.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking of Anthony. Maybe that's the other touch kid, but
in a regular season game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, good for the Rubio family. Speaking of Marco, and I've been meaning to say this. It's not terribly important. Maybe it is, but he is so miserable, and I'm pretty sure it's his hatred of Trump.
What is this with this Real Housewives shtick that people do with the administration, like pretending everybody hates each other and is miserable and like?
I did it with I thought that secretaries of state. So the last Tony Blinken, I said this too at the time. He always looked so miserable to me. I don't know if he hated Biden, although I'm sure he didn't like working for him.
There were people outside his house calling him the butcher of kids in Gaza. Like he could not go anywhere without having red paint dumped on his car. He was
true, but I think even before then, I think even before God, he was always miserable. I've never seen a less happy looking person than those two. I think there's something about being Secretary of State. I don't know. We can look back at the greats. I just wonder what psychologically it's like to be in that position, being really the manager, I guess, the general manager of the empire, with a boss who's either senile or insane or whatever they have been. Anyway, neither here nor there. I wonder what the chat thinks. Is Marco Rubio miserable, and does he hate his boss? I mean, Donald Trump called him Little Marco. Let's not forget.
All could be forgiven.
I wouldn't forgive that.
Yeah, okay.
I'd want to stab him in the neck if I were Marco, but then again, I'm not. Speaking of lunatics, I mean, Marco's not. I'm on first name basis with him, by the way. He's not a lunatic unless you think that a belief in global American hegemonic supremacy is necessary marks you as a lunatic. So anyway, we got stuff to talk about. Crowd is filing in.
Yeah.
They're waiting for your speech declaring victory in last week's debate with me.
Oh, well, I don't consider, I mean, what we say doesn't matter. That's the thing, though. Like, people with actual power, I mean, are making
what are we
decisions here? I know, but like, I will say, like, I don't know what for the news coming out of Snowgadishu, I think the optics war took a significant slide in the Republican favor with the church storming that Don Lemon did. I think with all the media headlines of 93% negative coverage of ICE, all the hate crime hoaxes about ICE that was happening, having Don Lemon storm a church with activists, communists, making little kids cry. This is kind of personal for me because, like, all this year, even before Trump was inaugurated, liberals have been telling me that ICE is going to storm churches, that ICE invades churches. There's no evidence that that's a policy. There's no evidence that's happened. And here, every accusation is a confession. They are the ones out on the streets racially profiling people. They're going up to any white dude with an American flag on their shirt or freedom on their shirt, and they're harassing them, calling them ICE agents. They're harassing people at restaurants. They're harassing anybody who drives a white SUV. They're doing exactly what they accuse ICE of doing. And they are, invading church services and acting like Bolsheviks, shouting the Communist Manifesto and making life miserable for everybody around them. It's the worst optics. Like, even if you hate everything ICE is doing and you think that they're being authoritarian, don't interrupt your enemy while they're making a mistake. If that's what you think is going on, don't be worse than them. And I think you're getting bogged down in the details. Okay.
I think a meta-analysis of Minnesota is most important and interesting. And I mean this, the meta argument I've been making for 2 weeks now, is 3 weeks, is that this is overall in general a good development for those who are decentralists, who believe in breaking apart state power, who are anti-federalists in the American tradition. The anti-federalism in American politics sort of died with the Constitution, basically. But nonetheless, there was a moment for the dawn of the Republic where there was a significant faction among the political elite who wanted more states' rights, more state sovereignty, more state autonomy, less federal control, less federal power, less federal sovereignty. And, they were right, I think. I think this would be a much better and less violent and certainly less imperial place. So let's just go through. Whether you agree with me on that or not, let's just talk about how it's
in principle. Let's just objectively go through how this is actually kind of what's happening, right? In a bigger sense, right?
So yes, they've subpoenaed, the DOJ has subpoenaed Tim Walz, Jacob Frey, and I think Keith Ellison too, who's the AG.
Keith Ellison, also the mayor of I forget her name, the mayor of St. Paul, and the attorneys for both St. Paul and Minneapolis.
The mayor of St. Paul is a very unfortunate name. It's her, H-E-R.
Yeah, her, Cal, her.
So it's very interesting.
Kaoli, her.
When you refer to her. But yeah, so, that's getting into 1861 territory, right? A direct conflict between local, state, and federal powers. And then you have, and that was precipitated, I think, largely by Walz and Frey almost going Confederate in calling for some sort of resistance to ICE. And was it Frey? I think it was, no, Walz, Walz, Frey, maybe both of them kind of suggested that the police, local police, should, what was the wording? Defend or resist.
Very vague,
law enforcement, but
statements.
it was in that direction.
Yeah, totally.
Which will get you indicted.
Yep.
And which also will make you momentarily my hero. I mean, to me, that greatest line ever uttered by an American politician was "Get the fuck out." So, not that I have anything good to say about Jacob Frey otherwise, and or will I want to move to Minneapolis or Minnesota once they declare themselves a sovereign state, because it is full of woke, lunatic, idiot communists of various kinds. It's very unpleasant. I mean, actually, when I've been there, the only nice part of being in Minneapolis, which is, by the way, kind of not a attractive city, I was very confused because I was led to believe that it was kind of this glorious place to live with a lot of snow. But the nicest thing about visiting Minneapolis for me was all the wonderful Somali people who are everywhere. I would say like the Mexicans of California, but even more so. They're just, as soon as you get off the plane, you just see Somali people doing all the service work. And then you can't get from the Minneapolis airport anywhere without taking a ride from a Somali. They do all the Ubers and taxis and everything, public transportation. They're everywhere. They seemingly keep that city going. I mean, if you actually, as I said, if you really deported all of them, and by the way, they're 95% citizens, but whatever, even if you deported them because they're the wrong skin color or whatever it is you don't like about them, I do think it would be a major blow to life in Minneapolis and Minnesota, because you would just be, I don't know. I mean, would you eventually, I suppose you could replace all those workers in those key positions, key service positions, but it would take a while. And I think, and if they also succeeded in deporting all the Salvadorans and Mexicans, there would be hunger. And I'm not kidding you. I'm going to say this again. The Nazis, one of their first acts was to remove Jews from all of their professions, and their major professions were food distribution, processing and distribution, and medicine. And overnight in Germany, all the Jewish doctors, 50% of doctors in Berlin were Jewish, and something like that in the food distribution industry were Jewish. They all lost their jobs. They all were kicked out. And hunger increased or emerged for the first time in Germany. And as I said, the average height of German children actually declined in the 1930s, in large part because of that. Diseases went up, death from injury went up, and there was just not enough food being distributed. Not entirely because of the Jewish absence, but in large part. And German people physically, materially suffered from the attempted deportation of Jews. It's just going to be the same thing. I mean, if you in California, there's no way there wouldn't be. I mean, it might sound funny to people, but it's think about where your food comes. I promise you, Mexicans touched it at some point. I mean, it's gone through the hands of some Mexican at some point. If you actually deported every single, and Central Americans, if you actually deported every single one of them, I really think there would be a hunger crisis. Certainly in the Southwest, in the West, but now probably most of the country. And yes, I'm not saying that it would become Ethiopia, but I think it would be an actual crisis of hunger and food distribution. So anyway, that's my one of the reasons I just don't understand anti-immigration whatsoever.
So if you snapped your fingers and they all disappeared like Thanos, that might happen. But if you like doing like an actual, like what we've been seeing, that's not happening. Like we've got GDP growth.
But you want that to happen. Trump wants that to happen. MAGA wants that to happen.
It's impossible. I mean, it's impossible to snap your fingers and remove everybody like Thanos.
They want to do it. They want to do it within a year. What do you say? 1 million in a year? 1 million per year? He wants to deport. That would take care of him. We ain't gonna get.
Look, what about 1.5 million are already gone, and we're not seeing mass hunger. We're seeing GDP growth.
It's a drop in the bucket.
Okay. Well, that's the point, is that there's so many. Like,
yeah, that is the point. That is the point. There are so many, and they're here not to get welfare, believe it or not. They're here to work jobs and get paid. And they have, yes, taken over huge swaths of the American economy. I mean, especially in distribution of consumer goods. Yeah, they're everywhere. It would be a massive crisis. So part of me wants to let y'all do that just to show you what will happen when you actually get rid of all the immigrants. But part of me doesn't, because I would like to continue to go to restaurants.
There's so many parts of America that have existed without this level of immigration, like especially like what we've seen in the last 5 years from the Biden administration. Like, there's so many places that have just cropped up in the last 5 years that are overrun with people who weren't here before. And these places functioned fine 10 years ago. Like
where? What do you mean? That means why do they have these jobs? These jobs were not available to them. That's why they immigrate in the first place, because they know that there are jobs here. That's the reason 99% of them come. There's a handful who come over to commit crime and steal welfare, but of course it's microscopic number compared to the overall, which we all know. I mean, come on, we all know that's why they come. And this is the libertarian argument for open borders, is that the markets, the labor markets, will dictate how many people come in. You don't need a border. You don't need a fence. You don't need nothing. They will not migrate if there are no jobs for them. And there were jobs for them because, for whatever reason, Americans weren't filling these necessary jobs. Like,
and what if
roofing and landscaping and food distribution and all of it, and housekeeping and childcare, and oh boy, yeah, childcare. There'd be a childcare crisis instantly.
There was not a crisis of these industries 20, 30 years ago.
Well, there was immigrants then too. I mean, there have been massive numbers of immigrants always, and certainly since 1965. When they essentially reopened, when they eliminated the racist Immigration Act of 1924. There's still quotas, by the way. They just loosened the quotas tremendously. But yeah, since 1965, there's been, yes, a flood. Sure. Large numbers of immigrants coming in every single year since that's my life. I was born in that year, which is why I'm glad that I was born, happy, grateful that I was born in the year when mass immigration resumed, because I've benefited pretty much every single day of my life from immigrants, and a lot of them undocumented, some of whom I've known personally. Boy, imagine how filthy people's houses will be if they kick out all the Salvadoran and Mexican housekeepers. The middle class and upper class, they don't know how to clean toilets. And they certainly won't. All the janitors, it's going to be ridiculous.
There are Americans who are capable of working in this country. There are,
because
for actual wages too.
Finally, you know this, right? Cato's done extensive work on this.
I can't trust anything out of Cato anymore, dude.
Really? I can. It's a very serious, legitimate think tank. Their data is undisputable. They've shown that illegal immigrants have lower crime rates than native-born American citizens.
That's
which,
what Don Lemon said when he stormed the church.
It stands to reason. Why would they come here, Michael Weimer? They come here to kill us, or they come here to get our money? It makes no sense. You don't travel from El Salvador all the way to Minneapolis to steal, to kill and steal, and you come to get a job, because they don't have jobs like that in El Salvador. This is so basic, and we all know this. So I don't get, again. And
you get free education here.
What have immigrants ever done to you? Honestly, I don't. It's just weird to me.
I don't hate immigrants. Also, I don't know where you get this idea that I hate immigrants. Like, just because I want like actual laws enforced.
Scandinavian immigrants are cool, right? Those are fine.
Okay.
And the occasional Indian to do software work, right? I know that's the Trump line. That's exactly the Trump line. He has said this. We need more people from Norway. He said this 2 years ago, like in a press conference. He said, why are we bringing in all these people from shithole countries? He said, yes, I used that word. And I said that. He had said it earlier in secret or private. And now he's like admitting it. He's like, yeah. And I also said, we need to get more people from Norway. Why can't we have more people from Norway? Which would be lovely too. Norwegians are awesome, super highly skilled, very educated, all the rest of it. There aren't jobs for Norwegians so much here, but there are jobs that Americans don't want to take.
I think we can have a functioning economy without a permanent underclass of brown people who are also extracting welfare resources, extracting from the welfare state, voting illegally, getting counted in the census illegally, and look, we're in the middle of massive fraud being exposed, 19 billion in Minnesota alone.
Yeah.
Even so, also on the crime thing, like just a lot of places don't report their crime stats when it comes to immigration status. And do you see www.dhs.gov, worst of the worst? www.dhs.gov, where they are listing the criminal profiles, the convictions of the people they've arrested and deported. I think that's a huge narrative shift in this. It's the receipts that, yes, they are arresting and deporting criminals. It's the mugshots that Trump was showing at his press conference. And I think a lot of people are going to go to www.dhs.gov and they're going to search their state and they're going to see who has been deported. And they're going to say, do I want to live next to a Laotian pedophile? Do I want to live next to an El Salvadorian who's been convicted twice of murder? Do I want to live next to a Mexican with 3 homicide deaths and DUI cases?
No, I would much rather live next door to an American pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly preferable, right? That's what we're going for here. Mm-hmm. Laotian pedophile. So what percentage are they claiming are violent criminals?
I don't know about violence, but they are saying that 70% of the people they've arrested and deported, and I think that's have either convictions or charges.
Mm-hmm. And you believe that?
I believe that because the people come back at them and they say, no, it's actually 58%. No, it's actually the critics say 30%. The critics say 58%. And I think they have the data, they have the numbers, and they're showing receipts and they're posting them every day. And I think it's a massive, overwhelming case. I think at least on, if it's just propaganda, but it's real. Like people don't want to live next to the people.
Okay. So how trustworthy has the Department of Justice been in the last year? And DHS, how their statements
compared to the New York Times, compared to the CNN, compared to their critics, they've been way better. Okay. Who was it?
Kristi Noem, like she's a truth teller.
I'm not a fan of Kristi Noem. I'm not a fan of animal cruelty.
She's the head of it. She's the head of the whole operation. So
yeah, but
the numbers are going to be coming from her office. It's DHS, right? Mm-hmm. Who oversee those numbers?
Yeah.
Okay, they're coming from Kristi Noem.
Yeah.
She's an proven obvious liar. Whether you hate Renee Good and think she needed to be shot in the face 3 times or not, you know that she lied.
I don't have any hate in my heart towards anybody.
No. Okay. I meant in general, if you believe that, but you know that Kristi Noem lied immediately. That was her instinct.
About what? What was the lie?
About what happened.
What was the lie?
That she was a domestic terrorist and she was driving her car at officers who were stuck in the snow.
That's exactly what I mean. That's a fisherman's tale. That's not a lie. That's a fisherman's tale. That's a little exaggeration, but that's not,
No, she led everyone to believe that Renee Good was driving her car at officers who were parked or stuck in the snow. That's what she said. Mm-hmm. and that she was a domestic terrorist.
Right. Domestic terrorist is accurate.
Really?
Yes. She's literally there to violently obstruct lawful procedures. She's literally there to protect Laotian pedophiles. She's literally there to obstruct the rule of law, to be violent and intimidating. That's why she was there. Like, she was there to make it harder for the DHS to arrest criminals. And I know that she had an ideology in her head that made her think that nothing bad could ever happen to her, and that she was the good person, and that she was protecting little Anne Frank, little Mexican Anne Frank in her attic. But what she was actually doing was protecting violent criminals and using violent means to do that for political purposes.
Okay. By stopping her car in the middle of the street
by
3 minutes, which is
driving at an officer.
That's all she did, right? We all agree on that, right? That's
stopping
the only
Yes.
That was the only obstruction, but correct? Mm-hmm. That's terrorism.
Yeah. She drove the car at the officer as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
no, she was driving away from the officer, and everyone knows that, and that's obvious.
Everyone knows that.
This is quite. It's just amazing.
The guy got physically hit, but you know,
I mean, there will be
a chaotic situation. You don't know what happened, but you know, I don't consider that a horrible deliberate lie. I consider that a fisherman's tale at most. Maybe it's a lie there, but yeah,
the postmodernists were just so right. No, I mean this, and that I'm kind of in some ways conceding, I guess. I mean, I've long said there's no such thing as an absolute truth, and it's all perspectival. It depends on your perspective. I guess what we need to do is I want to see a good analysis. I haven't seen one yet of why you and I and people like you and people like me have the exact same data in front of us and see completely different things, right? Now I would say the problem from your position is that people who see the incident as I do are across the board ideologically. So it's, as I said, independents. I think 90% see it my way. 20% of Republicans or so, and 95% of Democrats. Libertarians mostly, not all, but mostly see it my way. Communists and socialists all see it my way. It's a broad coalition, epistemological coalition. We right across people who hate each other see that shooting in the same way, whereas you are represented only by MAGA hardcore people.
Well,
right?
I mean,
I don't think there's any non-MAGA people who see it that way.
Well, there's been some legal experts on CNN. I mean, who don't use the domestic terrorist line, and there's been a lot of legal experts on mainstream media platforms say that, you know, the case looks good for the officer and the case doesn't look good for Renee Good.
Who said this? Which lawyer said this?
There's been legal experts. There's been people, you know, and you know.
I know.
I've seen some videos.
I've seen many lawyers. Right. I've seen many lawyers say, if this were to go to trial, he would have no chance. He would go to prison. That's what I've never seen a lawyer say anything other than that. Now you can maybe identify one, and I wonder who he voted for. But I honestly,
I've seen.
I just haven't seen it. I've seen lots of lawyers talk about this, and they've all said it's an easy.
There was an NBC case. NBC did a video analysis. There's people who watch the video say she hit him. She's accelerating. It's a justified use of force. I've seen mainstream media people on CNN and NBC panels say it's a legal use of force in self-defense, that the case is very strong. I've seen them say that on that case. Yeah.
Okay. Actual trial lawyers.
I don't know their full credentials.
If anybody in the chat or anybody can identify a single lawyer, criminal trial lawyer, who has taken that position, let me know. Like, I want to hear a name. and a link if you can find it. I am quite skeptical of what you're saying. I just haven't seen that. But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, so because it's only people with a particular ideology who see it your way, whereas it's people of many ideologies who see it my way, isn't that cause for concern about your epistemological veracity here?
I don't consider, even though I'm partisan, and even though I literally am my politics are that of a total chud. It's like I think your 5 IQ janitor who has supported Trump ever since he came down the escalator and screams "Let's go, Brandon," has the best politics in the world. I think our nation was saved by those people. And even though that's where my politics are now, I don't think I'm coming at. Yeah,
I know you agree with the politics. My point is, why is it that
there are people I don't think there are raving MAGA people. I think there are people who are on MAGA's side, given the I don't think Wilfred Riley is widely ideological. I don't think
Will's a Trump voter.
Okay,
I think. I'm sure he is. Yeah.
Angela McArdle as well. She voted for Trump. I know.
Huge Trump supporter. Yeah, she's the one who engineered the LP's support of the fascist.
I was talking about our friend James Gentleman. I was talking about
a former anarcho-capitalist. James is of the awesome Blackbird podcast. But yes,
Jeffrey Tucker. I don't think. MAGA. I mean, he's in. I know, but I don't think these are crazy ideological people. I think these are people. I know, but
okay.
And there's plenty of publications that have said, the case does not look good for her, and that
which publications?
Okay.
Steve Bannon's War Room.
I can point to NBC and CNN, and who have given very careful, calculated analysis of the videos.
NBC and CNN are saying this.
Yes, not in mass. Most of their pundits are very ideological.
Yeah,
they've had experts on, legal experts and people analyzing the video, going with the law and saying you can't be doing this. And even there's been a lot of even the people who are Democrats, they are saying don't obstruct ICE. Even though they are 100% behind Renee Good in what they're saying, they're telling people not to obstruct ICE because they know it's a problem for them. Walz himself is telling people to be as peaceful as possible. They know that encouraging people to go out there and put themselves in dangerous situations like this is bad. And even though they won't, I've seen a lot of Democrats say this is awful, but they don't say that what she did was justified. I've seen a lot of Democrats amplify Renee Good, but they haven't fully given a full-throated legal defense of her and have told people to play it safer. And to me, that's an admission that that an officer is justified in using lethal force if they feel that a vehicle is accelerating towards them.
Okay, so domestic terrorism. So what constitutes it here for you?
She was there for a political purpose.
Okay,
using force. Her car.
When
she blocked and obstructed them in a one-way street.
I'm saying she was already a domestic terrorist before the shooting.
Yeah, I consider these people who block streets, shut down streets. I consider those people domestic terrorists. Even if what they're doing, I consider these people throwing water bottles that are frozen domestic terrorists. I consider, even if it's a small act of violence for a political end is terrorism. And
Well, so if that standard were applied in the 1960s, there would have been no civil rights movement.
Great.
Okay, fine. Well, this is interesting. So because every leader of the civil rights movement would have been shot to death on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, because that's all they were doing. They were blocking and truly blocking an entire main bridge in Selma, Alabama.
Yes,
1964.
They were domestic terrorists.
Okay.
Now, I don't think that I don't think that what they did always. I don't think that it justifies lethal force to shut down a street, but I do think they should have all been arrested.
Well, yeah, I mean, they were intending to get arrested. That's not the question.
Mm-hmm.
Domestic terrorists don't get arrested; they get shot, as they should. Terrorists should get shot, of course.
But it's intimidation, dude. It's like whose streets are streets. We're gonna run into a church. We're gonna shut down your service. You don't get to have your public life because we're more important. That's violence. That's intimidation.
And so, would the machine gun on January 6th been like a mounted one? Because they would have had to kill hundreds of people on January 6th.
Well, there were hundreds of thousands of people there. It was
the entire front line was storming the Capitol and fighting cops.
Well, the cops let them in. First of all, the cops let them in. There were a lot of federal agents embedded within them, and there were a lot of agitators who started the violence.
Okay, was there violence against police officers?
Yeah.
Okay, so they should have been shot, right?
Most MAGA people would say, not shot necessarily, but arrested. Most MAGA people would say that the violent people should have been, when this happened, most MAGA people said the violent protesters should be arrested and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But that's not what happened. Thousands of people were arrested, not given due process, and held in jail for years.
But if the Capitol Police had opened fire on them, that would have been completely and utterly just
no. They were not using lethal force. They were the feds were in there stoking a riot. The Capitol Police were pushing the violence there.
With the flagpole hitting the cops with the flagpoles, that's less of a offense than what Renee Good did with her minivan SUV.
That instance, that guy probably should have been arrested and charged. Yeah.
Okay. No. Shot in the face.
I don't think shot in the face. I don't know that particular video. I don't know if that's lethal force. I don't know if that's enough to justify lethal force. That's not. Perhaps, but also you've got a crowd to consider. Tear gas maybe if it's an actual threat, but I don't think machine guns handle crowds. I think tear gas handles crowds.
Okay.
Yeah. There's
except in Minneapolis when it's,
and also she wasn't shot in the face. She was shot in the chest and the arm.
Oh.
And I know that doesn't change anything for anybody, but I
didn't know this is true. She
was shot 4 times, not 3 times in the chest and the arm.
4 times. There were 3 shots.
Okay, I've seen some reports that say 4 bullets. I've seen
at least one went in her head. Correct?
No, from what I've seen, chest and arm, and that means that he was aiming at the center of mass, which is what you're trained to do.
Really? When he was shooting through the driver's window, he was shooting at her torso.
We don't know if that bullet actually hit her. We don't look.
All right, I don't know.
He aimed at the center of mass. Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, here we are again.
Please correct me if the autopsy or anything says she was shot in the face, but I'm pretty sure she was shot in the chest and the arm.
Fine. Shot her 3 times in her body and killed her. I mean, the in the face thing was just expert color, but I'm pretty sure she was shot in the head at least. But okay, It's okay. Wow. Anyway, back to the meta-analysis, which I do think is more important here, I guess. But yeah, what do you think? I mean, well, just let's keep out the normative claims for a second, just objectively, I suppose. Do you think this is leading to more of a decentralization of the United States?
Culturally, yes, but I think Donald Trump is doing a regime change in Minnesota, and he's going to use the success of that to push the feds into California, New York, Illinois.
He's gonna get regime change in Minnesota.
He's gonna arrest and charge Walz, Frey, Ellison, as many people as he can.
Well, yeah. So let's say he does. Let's say he arrests and puts in prison all 3 of them. Who on earth do you think they're going to vote in to replace them?
Yeah, DFL people will probably replace them, but it's going to be like Venezuela, where they're going to be
even more radical lefty.
I'm not sure if they're going to be more radical. I think they're going to know that the game is up, that encouraging your radical left shock troops is over. All of your radical left shock troops have also been arrested, and your Somali fraud lines have dried up. All the fraudsters have been arrested, and Secretary Scott Bessent is saying that he's got Somalians on the inside who are turning and handing over incriminating information on these politicians. So he's saying he's going to go after the DFL like they went after the mafia, and then he's going to use that same strategy to go after fraud in all 50 states.
Yeah. Just quickly, the chat is really interesting. It's roughly split between those who agree with you, quote, 100%, and those who think, quote, you're retarded. And I assume they think it's the inverse for me too. It's just amazing, isn't it? Just step back. Isn't that sort of amazing that, right? This is going on countrywide, of course, right? People just see it radically differently, given, I suppose, where they're coming from. But isn't that wild? Anyway.
Look, I just can't bet against the Trump administration at this point. Now, if there are no arrests, if Walz is not charged with anything, if Bondi really is an absolutely does absolutely nothing, just talks for cameras, if nobody gets charged, if Don Lemon is a free man come November and the Democrats win everything and impeach Trump and then this is a total failure, and people get more divided. But
oh, right, we have a bet
for
November, right? You're still predicting that MAGA will remain in power?
I'm not really a gambler. I'm not a gambler. I don't, I think gambling, it kind of messes with your reason as soon as you do it. But I think MAGA can actually gain some seats potentially. I think they can hold on to things. And even if they lose, it's not going to be by too much. And I'm more betting on Vance Rubio 2028. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So federal supremacy is a good thing.
It's the way that this country has existed since Lincoln. It's the system we have. I know I'm a think locally, act locally guy.
No. Just I'm not. That's not really correct. I mean, so for instance, the sanctuary cities, right, is just one example of, I would call it a denial of federal supremacy. I mean, absolutely denying, violating federal law.
Well, yeah.
Well, whole cities, giant cities doing that.
Yeah, but it's not, the problem with that though is that in principle I like cities violating federal law, sure, but it negatively affects the rest of the country, and they're stealing taxpayer dollars from people who pay for Medicare and giving it to these illegal immigrants, and they're getting overrepresented by having these illegal immigrants counted in the census. So it's a total disrespect to the union that they joined, and it's a violation that negatively affects other people. It's not an isolated incident. It's not like, we want to have segregated schools in the South, something that doesn't affect the North. It's something that actually negatively affects everybody in the country.
Yeah. Okay. I don't quite understand that, but I just want to say I'm actually quite glad that our audience is split, has clearly very different views on many things. I love that. I think we're not unique, but I don't think there's many shows, on many podcasts, many live streams out there that could say that, where it's maybe even equally divided. But certainly there's large, I can tell from the chat.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I think this is representative of the libertarian movement also. I think the libertarian movement.
That's not a libertarian audience. I mean, there's some libertarians, but
but I think, you got popular within that movement for how they used your work.
Perceived me.
Yes. For how they perceived
as
you
one
and how
of,
they
as
used
one
your
of their
work.
own.
Yeah.
As one of their own, yes.
I did get interested in politics. I mean, passionately through the Ron Paul thing. Conspiracies and liberty was what got me really educated on politics. And I do think you've got this 50-50 split from what used to be the massive liberty movement, where you've got people clinging to the libertarian label, and then you've got people who abandoned for one of the two parties. You've got Penn Jillette, who became a Gavin Newsom supporter, and you've got the people I listed earlier who see that MAGA is their only option of actually having a real impact politically. And they've been won over by his arguments. They've been won over by seeing what he does in practice. And they've been won over by the Murray Rothbard, Pat Buchanan connection, the populist right.
Wait, that was a year ago. But
still played
they've
out.
all left. They've all left and denounced him. Dave Smith, the MAGA movement.
Dave Smith, I don't consider him a
Clint
MAGA
Russell,
movement. Not Angela McArdle.
He endorsed.
Not Jeffrey Tucker.
No. Wait, he's a libertarian who supported Trump and no longer does. So you're talking about a year ago.
He's a stoner comedian who voted once in an election because it felt good.
Dave doesn't smoke weed.
He smokes weed.
Does he?
Maybe he's quit because he, as a parent, maybe he smoked less.
He just does this. He does nicotine.
I think he smokes weed. He in the last 5 years, I'm certain he smoked weed. Like, dude, he's Legion of Skanks.
Okay, whatever.
Okay,
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Dr. Paul, I assume he's on my side in this. Minnesota?
He's the nonagenarian Dr. Ron Paul. Yes.
Now Ron Paul's too old.
I like Paul a little bit more in the 90s. I like
Rand is with us, but I'm sure Ron is. I haven't seen, but I'm sure he's with us on this. Do you think I'm wrong about that? Again,
Ron is probably with you.
I like the people on my side way better than the people on your side.
Okay.
Even some of the commies are preferable to MAGA. In fact, a lot of commies are preferable to MAGA. Until they get their revolution. But since they're never going to get their revolution, commies are useful.
But
in the meantime,
like, you can look pretty largely like 2024, Libertarian Party had its worst performance ever. Like, there's no positive vision for liberty anymore. Like, I think I don't see a positive vision. I don't see the energy. I don't see the we're going to have our utopia where we can smoke all our pot and 3D print all of our guns. And, I don't see the ANCAP utopia vision anymore. I don't see that. I think they've all gone the Palmer Lucky, get our country back, American strength and dominance, MAGA route.
When you say positive freedom, are you referring to the idea of there being positive and negative rights, which is really positive and negative liberty, right? So just for those who don't know, right? Mm-hmm. The idea, it's not really a theory. No, it's just is that there are rights so construed that simply negate the power of the government over citizens, right? Those are called negative. I'm just laying this out. Those are called negative rights. Doesn't mean they're bad. It means they're good, but they only protect against encroachments of government power, right? Positive liberty, positive rights, that's socialist stuff. That's rights so construed that give things from the government to the people, like healthcare, housing, education, food, whatever, welfare, right? That's what's always been called a positive liberty or positive right. Were you suggesting that libertarians should embrace some other form of positive liberty? Okay.
No, I'm talking about an optimistic vision of the future. I'm talking about having creative energy in a political movement.
See, I think they are. I think that there are libertarians who went MAGA, and there were for sure. I think they are interested in that, which comes from a Christian politics, a form of Christian politics, which is that it's not that the government necessarily should spread liberty actively, but that people should do things, right, in their own lives, in their own communities, actively, positively creating a culture of what they consider to be liberty. Like, I don't know, but like sovereign community. I don't know, but right, it's a different thing than simply saying, which the original libertarian point of view simply saying, all we want is the government to leave us alone. That's it. And let people do whatever they want after that. There has been a movement within libertarianism, within conservatism for longer, which I think has emerged a lot in recent years, which you would call it similar to the founding fathers' idea of virtue, that the people must be trained or taught to remake themselves, remake them cultures, to be self-regulating citizens and individuals who don't need the restraints from government. So, but that's it's an activist, positive in that way, idea that is, I don't like it. But is that what you're getting at?
I'm talking about not it's not that deep. I'm just talking about creative energy. I'm talking about a vision of the future to work towards, something that inspires people to take action. I don't see the libertarian movement as having that. I see them as being complainers now.
Okay.
I see them as
well. All right. I don't care that much about libertarians as a group, and they have a tiny amount of political power. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. I do think. Well, I do think, and I guess you sort of agree with me here, that this is moving toward somewhat a decentralizing dynamic in American politics. I mean, it seems obvious, right? I mean, to have the governor and mayor defy federal authority in that way.
Yes, it's being pushed to its limits, where we're seeing how far Democrats are willing to go. And they are, the Democrats, for example, like, they are no longer anti-Second Amendment. This is great, right? Like, they are, people don't talk about gun control anymore. All the radical lefties are 3D printing guns. They are training them to use them in terrorist attacks, and they are using them in terrorist attacks. But
when? Where?
Like Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk wasn't shot with a 3D printed gun, but Charlie Kirk was shot with a gun and by a leftist terrorist. The ICE, the John Brown Gun Club, shooting the ICE facility, which hit migrants. Yeah.
Was it John Brown Club?
John Brown Gun Club. It was. Around Dallas.
I've never seen evidence of that. They would have all been locked up, and they haven't. I don't. That's because we know where we know their names. I've done a documentary with those guys. I know they would their names are out there.
Those people might have changed since you did that documentary. It's been a while, but it might not be the exact same people as those you did a documentary with. But a lot of people have been arrested for it. More people keep getting arrested for that specific incident, and that's what changed my mind about ICE. Is that I saw the security cam footage where ICE ran towards gunfire and saved these migrants' lives. I didn't think they were
Dallas.
You're
talking about?
Yeah, in Dallas. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that.
That totally changed my perspective of thinking these people were bad people or racist. And also, it's funny to watch these protests in Minnesota where the ICE agents are way more diverse than the protesters. It's like all white people protesting, and then there's like these black and Hispanic working class guys.
Yeah, but why do you think the brown people of Minneapolis are not protesting in the streets?
Because they don't care when a white girl gets shot. That's part of it. And also,
no, come on. Yeah. Why? Because they will get locked up first or shot first, but certainly locked up first.
But the American black people who protested for George Floyd and for other leftist causes of the past 5 years don't have the same energy and don't care about this as much as
isn't that just who stormed the church in Minneapolis?
Okay, fair enough. But that's different than those are professional activists. Those are aides for AG Ellison. Those are
How about the video of the black family being invaded in their home by ICE agents? You saw that in Minneapolis?
Did not.
Oh, yeah, it's a long thing where she's screaming at him. And she's definitely black. They're all black in the house. No, there's black resistance. Sure, black people generally are more sensible in that they don't get involved in politics in general, right? Or less so, right? There's always been an activist class in the middle class, black middle class, always. That's where the civil rights movement came from. but the broad black population, the so-called working class, black working class, has generally been apolitical in that way, and God bless them for it. Yeah, that's part of it. But anyway, let's okay, give you the final word. Go ahead.
Well, okay, you were asking about the crisis here happening, like the federalism thing.
Potential crisis.
Yeah. I think the federal government's supremacy is the law of the land, and that they have the guns and they have the rights. Like they have the law on their side and they have the power, and I think they're going to win. And I think Donald Trump is going to do a slow trench warfare and enforce immigration everywhere in the country over the next 3 years. And I think the federal government is going to remain supreme. But this is something definitely to monitor, and you have to keep your eyes on Mamdani and how much he can actually resist the feds. You have to keep your eye on Pritzker. You have to see how this plays out. And and the thing is, they're not like John C. Calhoun types. They're not small R Republicans. They just want the feds to be on their side. Like they are just waiting for Democrats to be in charge of everything. They are globalists. They are just resisting one administration that is the only outlier of the bipartisan consensus on a lot of things. So I don't see them as brothers in the resistance against the federal government.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if you're right, and Trump does succeed in just, what'd you say? Exerting
federal supremacy.
Yeah. And all the local and state governments just surrender. I guess it's possible. If
I don't think they're going to surrender. I think,
or just be defeated, in whatever way, being put in prison or being shot in the face or in the shoulder, whatever. That will be, I think, the death of any hope of any decentralist, anti-federalist movement. I mean, I don't see, if that happens, then I mean, I certainly would be very worried about stepping outdoors with a picket sign.
Also,
I'd be worried about posting things on Twitter, by the way, against the federal government. I'd be worried about, I'd be quite quiet. I would prefer to live out my final years not being thrown in prison by Trump's police officers. And if that's I mean, if I were in the Soviet Union, I would have been quiet too. If I were in Germany in the 1930s, I would have been very quiet. Okay. Anyway, you got the last word. Let's move on. Move on, because we got half an hour and we got the biggest issues.
On
I know fire right now.
I didn't put this in the docket necessarily, but I think we should wrap up a little bit on Iran in just saying that.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Iran wasn't bombed last Wednesday. Everybody thought they were going to be bombed within 24 hours. Apparently, Trump made a last-minute decision not to bomb Iran. There's the most hilarious video of Lindsey Graham in like his total pink face, alcoholic, whatever state he's in. Like the saddest I've ever seen Lindsey Graham, that Iran did not get bombed. But a lot of people watching this are saying that there's going to be a regime change at some point in the next few months. A, is there going to be a regime change? B, did the Ayatollah actually mow down protesters with machine guns? Are there actual bodies in those body bags? Are there thousands of dead protesters? And did Donald Trump abandon the people that he said he would protect? These protesters, he said help is on the way. Did he abandon those people? And is he a neocon who's going to do a regime change eventually?
Okay, let me state what we know. And this is collectively, these are non-controversial facts at this point. The least controversial is the size of Iran and population. It's 92 million. And this is also non-controversial fact that is accepted by all sides, even Israelis and Mossad agents and the State Department, that the number of supporters of the Iranian government, of the Islamic Republic, of the revolution, of the Ayatollah Khamenei is about 20%. Everybody agrees on that. Somewhere around 20, maybe 25%. It's a minority, obviously, but that means it's 18 to 20 million people in that country who support the government, who support the state, who support the Islamic Republic. Okay, so just keep that in mind, everybody. You know, when you think about wars to liberate people, you'd be killing a lot of people who don't want to be liberated. And in fact, they think that we live in slavery and they live freely because they live according to they believe the dictates of Allah. Always interesting to keep that in mind. Who are we killing and who are we freeing? We're killing to liberate. It's the oldest American game. We've been killing to liberate for 2 centuries now. So there is not clearly a large enough number of supporters of the government to keep it afloat in perpetuity, but that's just important to know. The 80%, 70 to 80% who don't support the government, as far as I understand, are all kinds of people. But the one thing I do know about that group, the 70% who are not religious in that way and don't support Sharia law and don't support the government, and I've been writing about this, and my book will have lots on this, and you know, a lot of people know this, are Western as shit and are way more interested in the block party and the dance club and the tattoo they're going to get and the porn they're streaming than in anything political. But that means
Persians. These are Persians we're talking about.
Iranians, yeah, people who live in Iran, yeah. So they are political in a very important way, which is that, of course, that's all an absolute violation and rejection of Sharia law and of essentially tacitly the Islamic government as a whole. And so my position has been for years and years, I wrote about this like 20 years ago, I think, for the Daily Beast, 15 years ago, is you just let the thing fall. Just like the Nazis, just like the Soviets, and even just like the Cubans now. I mean, the people are just way less interested in communism or Islamism than they are in living a good and free life the way that most Americans do. And most Americans are not political. Most Americans are just interested in pop culture. So that's the biggest argument for me against the 2 biggest arguments against intervention. 20% of the people don't want to be liberated at all. And the other 80% are liberating themselves every single day. And they're doing so absolutely they're doing so not as, but in an existential threat to the so-called regime. The regime knows this. This is why they pass laws and edicts and fatwas every day against wearing blue jeans and watching television, Western television, and women, of course, you know, unveiling. And women have been unveiling for years now. And I've seen lots and lots of footage from Tehran of all kinds of women who look like they're in LA, the way they're dressed and groomed. So that's the big argument. Now, is there a big enough, powerful enough, revolutionary movement that actually is interested in taking control, taking power, and is able to take power? Hard to say. It doesn't look like it, because what's happened ever since they shut off the internet? When they shut off the internet, the shooting stopped. Because the government said they shut off the internet not because they're a repressive Islamic totalitarian regime, although I guess they are to some extent. It was because they believed, and quite rightly, looks like, that the people with machine guns and flamethrowers in the streets, the very, very, very violent protesters who were decapitating police officers, smashing their heads, were being organized and directed via the internet. And there's lots of evidence for that. And that's why they drop-lifted Starlink terminals into Tehran. So we have lots and lots of videos, and I really recommend The Gray Zone has done, as usual, the best reporting on this. Lots of videos of, as I said, people in the streets shooting machine guns and flamethrowers, and setting things on fire and lighting people on fire and lynching cops. The only question for me is how many of the protesters were doing that And more importantly, to what extent did they have connections to Mossad, MI6, and the CIA? And I think I went through the history last week, but again, everybody knows that Iran has had a series of major demonstrations and protests against the government since 1979, but certainly in the last 10 to 20 years. The Green Movement of 2009, I think it was 2008, 9. And even this one, when it started, were all nonviolent, pretty much nonviolent. Huge too. I mean, upwards of, I think more than 1 million people protested in the Green Revolution, so-called. But that changed all of a sudden. And this protest began, and people who have been following this will know this, but it began in the Grand Bazaar in Tehran, which has been sort of an important political base, which has been, by the way, generally speaking, supportive of the Islamic Republic. And one of the main reasons the Islamic Republic managed to take power and hold power was they had the support of the bazaris, the merchants who operate in Iran. This protest began with them protesting the economic crisis, the collapse of the rial, which was, of course, engineered by the West, currency manipulation, but it caused a huge crisis in Iran, in the economy. And this was a completely nonviolent protest movement. There were lots of thousands and thousands of people led by the bazaris in the streets nonviolently. And that went on for 2 days. And then all of a sudden, these guys show up with assault rifles, machine guns, and start shooting. And you can see videos of them shooting pretty randomly, generally at police officers, but pretty randomly into crowds on the streets. And for weeks before then, the Mossad itself had been bragging, even on Twitter, that they were everywhere in Iran. Mike Pompeo said Mossad is walking beside you on the street in Tehran. Zionist after pro-Israeli person after pro-Israeli person has been proud and trumpeted the fact that Mossad has blanketed that country, Eli Lake. The quote I used last week, Eli Lake is a major neoconservative, pro-Israel Zionist commentator. He said Mossad has an awesomely massive presence in Iran. So they all say, Israel and its supporters in America have all been saying that Mossad is everywhere inside Iran. And we know what Mossad has been willing to do inside other countries, like in Lebanon, like in Iran, where they assassinated multiple nuclear scientists and government officials over the years. Most recently in the 12-Day War, killed a bunch of scientists and government officials and their families. The pager attack, showed how ruthless they are, the Israeli government, versus their other countries. And they've done this in every country around them since the founding of Israel, since before the founding of Israel. Assassinations are the name of their game. They're proud of it. They've written books about it. Their ruthlessness is legendary. So how on earth are we not supposed to conclude that these violent protesters in Iran that precipitated, of course, the government crackdown, because a government is going, as you well know, as you've kind of been laying out with Minnesota, is going to crack down not when it's little lesbians driving their SUVs, but with people shooting into crowds and shooting police officers directly and setting them on fire. You see the video of the guy with the little flamethrower burning a bunch of cops. And so that's when the government began to shoot back. And we don't know. I don't know. It's still unclear. I mean, Khamenei, I think, has said there were 2,000 dead. There are people saying it's 10 to 20,000. I just haven't seen any evidence of this at all, one way or the other. I've seen some videos of bodies in body bags. Maybe I've seen 20 to 30 body bags. I believe that there was a lot of death and a lot of killing by the government of people, and I'm sure they killed a lot of innocent civilians who weren't doing anything. But again, if you have people running around your capital city shooting machine guns at police officers as and emerging from this mass protest in the streets, what on earth do you think the government's going to do? What would the United States of America do if that happened in Washington, D.C., and there was any evidence at all that the people with machine guns were being directed by Russian intelligence agencies? And Russia had been bragging for weeks, oh, we've got agents all over Washington, D.C. You'll be walking next to a Russian agent when you're walking on Capitol Hill. And then all of a sudden there's shooting in the streets in an anti-government protest in Washington, D.C. We'd have mowed down the whole fucking place. So again, this is no defense of the Iranian government, because I don't defend any government or any state ever. It's simply a matter of physics, political physics. That's when states kill, when their existence is threatened by violence, especially internally. And this, of course, it's a very long American tradition too. The few moments when there have been sort of violent uprisings against the elite or ruling class in America, they got hanged or shot to death or electrocuted or you name it, right? Every government has to do that to be a state. It's one of the reasons I'm an anti-statist. So, and since then, since they shut off the internet, the shooting stopped. The protesters did stop. The violence stopped. And as far as I know, there's been no reports of any violence since then. So that also tells me that no, there isn't a big enough movement to change the regime inside Iran. There isn't a big enough actual revolutionary movement inside of Iran to do that job. Again, just let American TV shows and fashion and music do its work, because that's what people in Iran most want. And that is what the mullahs in Iran least want. And that is what's taking down the regime bit by bit every single day. And it has been doing this for now decades. So that's the take.
I don't know what's going on with the Trump administration, but that literally might be the plan, is to just wait this one out and take credit for it when it happens.
Maybe. I mean, the neocons are pissed off at him because he called off the attack that Israel wanted. Yeah. And it's also, it's in line with most, not all, but most of Trump's foreign policy, which is that it's been based mostly on bluff, which is good. I mean, I prefer that to not bluffing and actually invading and bombing other countries. And again, the death count, the body count for the Trump administrations together, both administrations, is still lower, I think, than any other Democrat president previously, except maybe Jimmy Carter, but they killed way more people than Trump did in the first year. You know, Obama, what did Obama do? I think the end of his first year, early second year, he launched the surge into Afghanistan. How many people did that kill? Right? I mean, those are big actual wars, boots on the ground wars, the Democrats and Republicans oversaw, not to mention George Bush. So it's interesting.
The other bluff. Yeah.
His radical reorientation of American foreign policy, but really the American empire. He's reorienting the American empire. And I laid this out last week. And tomorrow I will be publishing on my Substack a big piece analyzing Trump's whole first year in foreign policy and what I'm calling the reorientation of the American empire around what I call the naked empire, which is no longer ideological. It's no longer ideological. We no longer invade other countries or do anything to other countries for the sake of the people in them.
That was my favorite part about Venezuela. He said, don't worry, we're not spreading democracy. We're just taking the oil.
Right. Which again, to me is also preferable, because there's no end to an empire that is obligated to uplift all people. There will be war forever, as there has been since 1776. So that's almost over, because the ideological content of American imperialism has been declining anyway since about Bill Clinton. They just don't talk as much about spreading democracy. Well, since 2003. They talk much less about spreading democracy, about America's obligation to be the policeman of the world, to be the savior of the world. Less and less and less about that. And now with Trump, it's gone. And he's absolutely renounced that. He's said almost nothing about the poor people of any country. He's interested only, and I think this is very fair, only in how he sees American national interests and national security, which is, again, people get killed, dozens in Venezuela, hundreds in Iran from the bombing strikes. But that's less, it's less lethal. I'm opposed to this too, but it's far less lethal. And ultimately less lethal, of course, in the long run than the old American globalist exceptional empire. That empire needs to go everywhere and kill anyone in its way, any supposed tyrant in its way. It must liberate the world, and there will always be people who need liberating. And so it's a forever project, which has led to forever wars. Trump's against that. He wants to limit the empire geographically only to the Western Hemisphere. He wants to leave maintenance of the Middle East to Israel as our proxy. And he wants NATO to be run by the Europeans. And he wants to get the hell out of Asia, Africa, Europe, and simply concentrate on this hemisphere and put a big red, white, and blue golden flag across the entire thing. So that's in the National Security Strategy document in December. And I recommend strongly that people read that. It's very clear, explicit language saying what I just said. But I think most importantly, the ideological content of American imperialism has now been almost completely removed. And we will be operating our foreign policy according to completely different principles. So, and that's a positive, but it's still an empire. It's still an empire that wants to oversee 2 entire continents. And to do that, to establish sovereignty over 2 entire continents full of all kinds of people who are opposed to this empire, you're going to have to do a lot of killing, a lot of coercion, a lot of nasty stuff. And that's already started. It's just going to be less because we will be in fewer places. And our interest will only be for national security, not to kill every tyrant between us and the people. So that's where we are. That's where we're headed. And that's generally a good thing. It's far from a perfect thing from my point of view. But any anti-war, and I have something very positive to say about Greenland. We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Believe it or not, you're going to like this. Anti-war and anti-imperialist people I think this should be the line. I think this should be the take on it. It's not to celebrate it or welcome it, but to say, yes, it's a positive move. And eventually, I think it'll lead to the retrenchment of the American empire to the borders of our country, which would be a beautiful thing. So, yes, there you go.
Yeah, so the other bluff was Greenland, that it turns out Trump wasn't. I mean, yeah, he's not invading Greenland with the military. Maybe it was Senate Republicans who told him they'll impeach him or whatever, but he's not invading Greenland. He's backed off on the tariffs, and he's met an agreement with NATO involving some sort of plan to reach an agreement. I think the plan is just coming out right now, but I think the plan includes taking like limited parts of Greenland to maybe have bases or strategic things on it, like limited land grabs. But yeah, what's your shocking Greenland take?
I think anti-war people should embrace it. I think it will actually lead to less war. Mm-hmm. And I think it's part of the retrenchment of the empire, which is good. So here's the amazingly funny stuff that's going on. And I get this from the Duran. The Duran had an awesome episode about a week ago, I think, on Greenland. I strongly recommend. I put it on my Twitter. Strongly recommend people listen to. You just don't see this analysis of this issue anywhere else. And those guys know European politics better than anybody. So it looks a lot like. Sorry, my AirPod just died again. 1 second.
You sound good.
Well, so when Trump first made his threat and Denmark said, we won't do this. We're going to fight you if you do invade. And they called upon the European countries, the EU, to send troops to Greenland. And they did. They did. European countries, most of the European countries sent troops to Greenland. Do you know how many troops they sent collectively to Greenland to defend it from America?
Trump called it a bobsled team.
25.
25?
25. Not 25 battalions or divisions. 25 individual soldiers. I think Spain sent 1, France sent 3, Great Britain sent 12, something like that.
And these are the people who are going to fight Russia also, presumably, right?
Okay, so now we know that what is the chief concern and interest and commitment of European political leaders in terms of geopolitics and foreign policy? It's to keep NATO in their backyard so they don't have to pay for their security and provide for their own security. NATO is what they worship. This is not news. Every one of the Western European countries and Eastern European countries is all in on NATO and want to protect it more. That is almost their only interest in many ways. And so here they are faced with a choice. Denmark, which has almost no power globally at all, even within Europe, it's a minor player in Europe, or the integrity of NATO going forward. So they're throwing Denmark under the bus. That was the clearest demonstration that Europe is totally ready to throw Denmark under the bus to save NATO. Because if Trump did move on Greenland, that would be a violation of Article 5, and then NATO blows up, and there is almost literally blows up, and there is no NATO anymore. And certainly the United States is no longer the leader of NATO, and if the US is no longer the leader of NATO, NATO is an entirely different thing. They don't want that. So they're willing to give up on Greenland. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, there's 30,000 people who live in Greenland right now. They've already been colonized twice, I guess. They talk about this. The natives of Greenland talk about having been twice colonized. Why exactly is it worse for there to be an American colonizer than a Danish colonizer in Greenland? I see no reason why it would be worse for them. I'm certainly for their self-determination, but again, it's already a colonized subject territory and always has been. Ever since Greenland's been a political entity, it's been colonized by Europe. And I think it would, preclude long-term any chance of invasion on the eastern flank of the United States. I don't see that happening anytime in my lifetime. It's possible, but I see no country in the world who's interested even in invading us. But that's the one thing I don't want to happen. And that's the one thing where I would pick up a gun, or at least support the picking up of guns. I don't want an invasion of the country I live in. And if you look on a map, Trump's not wrong about this. This is why it's true. Presidents have not taken action really, but they've said it would be best for our national security if we controlled Greenland. Yes, Denmark has been completely compliant and have allowed us, the US, to put any amount of military bases and personnel in Greenland. True, but that's not permanent. I don't think that's going to change like anytime soon, but it could change. And Trump is looking long term. I can't believe I'm speaking on behalf of Trump's logical coherence, but I think it does make a lot of sense. This one policy and foreign policy I actually think it would be better long term as an anti-war and even anti-imperialist person. Certainly an anti-war person. It's going to lead to, in the long run, I believe, less war. And it doesn't mean any war in the moment, because Denmark, of course, won't fight. It can't fight. And Europe, we know, can't fight and won't fight. So there would be no violence. I'm not at all worried about that. I don't see any chance of it. And there's a tiny, tiny, tiny population. It is smaller than the population of the suburb I live in, which is like a small town in California. I mean, 30,000 people is a speck. So there's going to be no popular resistance of any significance in Greenland, meaning there's just not going to be any violence. It's just going to be an exchange of territory among great powers. One minute you're you're a colonized subject of the Kingdom of Denmark. The next, you're a colonized subject of the Kingdom of the United States. I don't see anybody getting killed. And I also think there's a good chance there would be economic investment by the United States into Greenland to make it more supportive of being American. I could see that easily happening. That's been an American strategy forever, going back to the Marshall Plan and the reconstruction of Japan and all of it. Iraq, right? The amount of money put into Iraq infrastructure was immense. Yeah. Again, it's not perfect, but it's sort of the exchanging colonial territories among powers. It's not, and I don't see a war happening. I think that's basically impossible in this case. Denmark, I think it'd be better off if they just sold it to us.
Yeah. Well, if a war happens, I think Trump gets impeached. I think NATO falls apart. I think it's catastrophic for everybody involved, even though it's an island of 50,000 people that nobody cares about. But I think just
30,000.
America. Yeah. But America going to war with Europe is like is just, you can't do that. Right. Neither side can do that.
Which is not on the table. That's why it won't happen. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, they're unable. They're incapable of doing it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they could maybe hold off the United States, I suppose, but they would have so many of their own people killed in the process. Yes, they could make it. I think they could make it militarily too difficult if they actually committed European troops en masse to defend Greenland. Yeah, they could make it too difficult for the U.S. to conquer it, but the ensuing war would be just completely catastrophic.
Yeah,
for both continents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Regardless of the human cost, like the political order would fall apart. Like it's on both sides. Yeah.
So here's the great thing. So George Galloway, who's kind of been the most prominent, I'd say, leftist in Britain for a long time. He was in the Labour Party for a bit, but then split off and formed his own more radical party. Socialist and very anti-imperialist. And Galloway is sort of more famous for his anti-imperialism. And he's no different than Ron Paul and Noam Chomsky on these questions. He said in a tweet, I think it was today or yesterday, he said, all the things I've fought against my whole life, Trump is taking care of them for me. I mean, even now that Trump is saying, I'm not going to invade, I think today he announced, I'm not going to use force against Greenland. Doesn't matter. The damage is done. Davos is nothing but discussion by extremely pissed off European and Canadian elites, the Canadian prime minister.
Oh, yeah. And Canada and France talking about joining with China, like running to the hands of China as soon as U.S. steps out. Crazy.
It's the best day ever for BRICS.
Mm-hmm.
I could see European countries, Western European countries joining BRICS now. Long term, it's not a bad bet at this point. So yes, this is a great moment. Trump's move on Greenland has been great, again, for the decentralists out there among us and the anti-imperialists among us. It's a breaking apart of the global American empire, in particular in Europe. So hallelujah on that one. How's that?
Great. Yeah. Cool. I had no idea what Greenland was about, and I kind of thought it was all goofy, but it actually meant something. Yeah.
No, I mean, if you look at the map, I mean, it's true. Like this is not going to happen. I'm not worried about this happening, but it could absolutely happen at some point in the future if there really is some kind of other evangelical empire out there, right, that acts like us and says we need to be uplifted and saved from our rulers. The first thing they would do is try to take over Greenland because it's just right next door, and it's a massive territory. They could launch all kinds of easy attacks on the East Coast and the northern border of the United States and interior from that position. Yeah, no, just strategically, just look on the map. It's a risk thing. I mean, risk game kind of thing. You can just see. Our oceans are what have protected us. We all know this, right? From having to be in wars like that. Mm-hmm. But Greenland is the way to skip over the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everybody look at a map. And then they will agree with me that Trump's imperialism actually ultimately will be in the service of anti-imperialism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's a new empire. It's an American empire for the first time. The old empire was kind of a holdover of the European empire.
And I was going to say it's an honest empire. I take that back. It's always been honest. When they always did believe their own religion about America's obligation to the rest of the world. But I would call it's a naked empire. It's a crass, vulgar, in a good way, empire, meaning it's simply self-interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The way most other empires have operated. There have been some, like the British, have said similar stuff about, we have educated the Indians and we've uplifted the South Africans and it's for them. Cecil Rhodes, that was his whole mantra. He was doing this for the good of the people of the world. It's no longer about that. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You don't want a foreign military power attempting to save you. No, you should never want that. It's never going to go well, at least not for your country. So tomorrow, I'll be, as I said, my Substack I'll be publishing this tomorrow. It's a big, big piece doing an overall analysis of this. I also have some stuff on immigration and how Trump's moves against immigration are absolutely tied in with the history of the empire, going back all the way to the 1890s. So there you go, man. I'm glad we worked this out.
Cool. How was it? Next week, I think we should talk about the Board of Peace. Because, I think it's actually really significant. Yeah. Sweet. We're on time. We're good to go to after show.
Absolutely. If you want to come to the after show and talk to us, hang out, just join my Substack. Can you put it up?
ThaddeusRussell.substack.com.
Yep. And the link to the Zoom room is right there on the front page of my Substack. Just become a subscriber and you can come in and hang out with us, which we do after every Unreported on Wednesday nights. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sweet. Awesome. Yeah. I was going to say, this kind of is the 1 hour and a half out of my week that I actually talk politics.
Yeah.
So I look forward to it, like for real. Yeah. Like
you do it extremely well. So.
Thank you.
And go Hoosiers.
Go Hoosiers, man.
Talk about an empire.
Yeah.
In the making.
Hey, 50 years ago, perfect basketball team, greatest college basketball coach to ever live.
That's
50 years later, we're starting with the greatest college football coach that ever existed here.
Scary. Undefeated 2 seasons, 2 different sports. It's awesome. God bless you. Congratulations on your wonderful season. And peace, everybody.
Peace. Yeah.
Peace.
Awesome. I wish I had something nice to say about Oakland.
Oh, I don't either. Don't worry.